We'll call this special meeting of the, of the Stanley City Council to order. Please note for the record, the meetings are recorded. If you wish to address the council, please come up to the podium. Make sure the little green light's on so we can hear you. Being it's a special meeting, we can only deal with items that are on the agenda. We have a quorum here. Ty is on the phone, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have 5 council people here, including our city auditor, chief of police is back there. First item on the agenda would be the interviews for the preliminary engineering. And we'll start with Moore. I see there's a whole crew here. It's kind of nice you got your pictures. I can easier to remember your name that way.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we ran that placement out. We can see some stuff there. It's got information for us.
You want to turn that, is that light, is it on?
It is green.
You might have to talk closer to it.
Oh, there it is. Now we're in business. Okay, well, thanks for having us out today. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with you about more engineering and tell you about us. And thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you about engineering. I'll start out by introducing myself. My name is Kyle Meyer. I'm our North Dakota Regional Manager with Moore Engineering. I've been with the company for 22 years. I've been doing municipal engineering my entire career in the state of North Dakota. Did a little bit of work in Minnesota way back in the day, but basically I don't do anything in Minnesota anymore. It's all been North Dakota. Basically doing municipal engineering, acting as a city engineer for a number of communities throughout the state. I've been doing the engineering work as well as helping those communities look for funding and help them put together funding packages for the work that they do. And I've done a lot of different types of projects, everything from A to Z that happens within a community. And you guys have dealt with a lot of those, but I've been doing it for a long time. And I love working with towns in North Dakota. It's been awesome. And I love helping people. So that's a little bit about me.
I'm Josh Reiner, project manager out of our Minot office. Born and raised in Minot, so sticking around the home roots there. I've been with Moore here for 9 years now, primarily doing municipal type work. Wide range of experience as well, from land and site development type work to sewer, water, streets, water towers, and other miscellaneous projects for communities throughout the area. So.
Thanks, guys. I'm Tom Colbundy. Been with Moore Engineering for 11 years now. So I am the municipal group leader out of our Bismarck office, originally from Garrison, North Dakota. My job is I'm in charge of the production staff. So Josh is our project manager, deals with the clients, deals with you guys, and gets the work, brings it back. And my job is to work with our staff to make sure it's done correctly, done the way you guys want it, puts our production stuff out to you guys.
Okay.
All right, so our mission at Moore Engineering is improving lives by building strong communities. And that is something that we truly live by. And our values, respect, integrity, accountability, loyalty, and kindness. That mission statement that we have up there, improving lives by building strong communities, is our company works for a lot of communities, and we do utilize that and think about that in our mission statement. Communities is different than just a physical community. It's our own community of people that we work with and things like that. So we do keep that near and dear to our hearts and really do live by that mission and values.
See if we can get this to work this time.
More engineering, so just, I don't know how much background you have on us, but we have been doing business since 1960. We're started doing business in the city of West Fargo. We are an employee-owned, 100% employee-owned company. We've got about 130 employees. That is continuing to ramp up. There's a lot of work in the state and around here, so we are looking for people. We've got 12 offices throughout North Dakota and Minnesota, and our offices there are located, shown there, the different offices we have in the state of North Dakota. Josh is out of our Minot office, and then both Tommy and I are out of our Bismarck office. If you have any questions at any time, please shout out and let us know.
So partners in your success, really, we just have a large commitment to the communities we work for. Really, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Something comes up on a weekend, we're there to answer questions or provide any assistance as needed. Really strive to be a trusted advisor for the communities we work for, understanding that it's an earned trust. It's not something that you just walk in the door day one and people are give you that full trust. But as we work with communities, we strive to become, get that trust built up. So investing back into communities, we work with communities to provide funding for different miscellaneous activities within towns, or giving back to help out where we can. So aligning priorities with our clients, really, it's not about us, it's about you. Really, that's the main thing, is it's your project, a lot of your decisions, and we just want to make sure that we're providing the services that you desire and not coming in and being too bullheaded about things. So and transitioning of engineering services, that's something that we strive to do as we build relationships with clients. Take that as our responsibility to kind of get caught up to speed with what's going on in your community and what needs you have. So that's some initiative that we take as we get ingrained in communities.
Yeah, we understand if you were to hire more engineering, there is a process that we would take as our responsibility to make sure that we get to understand what your needs are, what the infrastructure is, what are the things you need in your community. That we take that as our onus to make sure that we do that and get up to speed with what you have going. And we don't charge or bill you for that time to make that change and get that information, and get that alignment.
So we're filling out a questionnaire as you guys, we can jump in and ask questions.
You sure can.
Well,
Absolutely. Yep.
So like for these projects, it would probably be Josh out of the Minot office would be,
Yeah. So the way
Serving
that
us.
would work, Josh would be your person.
Okay.
He'd be the guy you're going to see 99% of the time at your council meeting.
Okay.
We do like to have another engineer that works with Josh in your community, because Josh goes to meetings too every now and then. And if you need something from him, you call him up and he's not around. We want to make sure that we have another person in our office that, nope, Josh is at a meeting or he's on vacation. Talk to this person and he's going to be up to speed with what we got going on.
Continuing on with partners in your success. So again, kind of striving back to some of the points made before, community commitment. So here's a few of our clients that we were working with. A couple of our extremely long-term clients, Castleton and City of West Fargo, from back in the early 60s, that we're still working with, and a couple of our newer, more recent clients that we've in your area that we've been working with. So City of Berthold and City of Tioga, we've been working with them for several years here now. So Tioga, I've been pretty tied to them for the last couple of years, they've had a lot going on, so things have been going well there. So
We also work in Makoti and Garrison. Those are probably the next two closest towns.
Community involvement, that's another item that we strive for. Summer parades for 4th of July or whatever it may be. A lot of times we try and get involved in the community and be well known with the residents and people throughout the community. Trust, again, kind of touching back from before, just something that we strive to gain from our clients, and understanding that it's not something day one necessarily, but strive to gain that trust. So municipal engineers since 1960, we have 35 or so employees that are dedicated to municipal engineering type work, from drafters and designers to engineers and project managers. So accessibility, again, we have offices in Minot and Williston, and that long-term commitment to some of your neighboring communities. Success in guiding growing communities, that's something that we've been involved in with a lot of communities out on the eastern side of the state for many years, as they've grown from in the metro area there, from smaller communities to much larger communities. So we've been through a lot of growth with many communities throughout the state.
In the municipal engineering side of things, that really is more engineering bread and butter. That is what we do. It's about 75% of the work that we do from an engineering standpoint is municipal engineering. We work for, I think, 102 cities in the state of North Dakota, and then 30 some in Minnesota too. But that is our bread and butter. A majority of our staff is dedicated to municipal engineering.
And it's communities your size too. We do work in West Fargo, which is 50,000 people, but most of our communities are 100 people to 2,500 people. So right in that 600 to 1,500 people is the majority of the clients that we serve.
Touching on services we offer, so really full service engineering firm, from municipal engineering, water resources, so drainage and flood control type projects, transportation, environmental. That's a group that we've been growing a lot, so we have a lot of been getting a lot of experience with employees that can handle wetland type work and all types of permitting for some of the projects you may encounter. Water, wastewater, so you guys do get rural water, so you don't have water treatment, but your wastewater system, whether it be needs or any other needs there. Land and site development, so we do work for some private developers doing that type of work. GIS, I'm sure you guys do have a GIS map, I believe, so we do offer those services. Surveying, from topographic surveys to your boundary and platting work. We do have drone capabilities, and also we do some airport engineering as well. Who we serve, Kyle already kind of touched on this a little bit. We do work for 102 municipalities in the state of North Dakota, 72 in Minnesota. We also work for 2 rural water districts, 25 water resource districts, 18 counties, and work with 3 Native American tribes. Your team, so this is the team we've assembled for to work with you guys. Again, as kind of mentioned before, I would be primary contact, would be regularly at your meetings. Tom is our group leader, so he managed our production staff, has a lot of expertise with various municipal projects. Josh File is a professional engineer in our Bismarck office, who would most likely primarily be the lead designer on many of the projects. There's various staff down there from surveyors, construction specialists, funding people that are broad knowledge in funding, transportation engineers, water, wastewater, water resources, environmental, land acquisition through right of way, and our GIS group there as well. So these are kind of the leaders of all the groups throughout our organization. So forgot to touch on that. Sub-consultants, so in the RFQ there was also request to include city planner. IntelliPlans is a firm that we work with that does planning for communities. There was actually a previous planner from the city of West Fargo that he moved on to work with his family on a family farm and started another company to do city planning for communities throughout the state. So works for several communities. JLG Architects, we included as our sub-consultant for any architecture projects, and Braun Intertech for geotechnical work. So. Okay, so the project, the Country Estates Water Main Extension Project, so our understanding of it is recently annexed subdivision into the city. You guys put in sewer this last summer to serve the area, and currently served by wells for water. And of course, the goal is to include that area in for city water service due to the poor water quality that they're currently dealing with the on-site wells. The project would be funded through the State Water Commission and Special Assessment District. So here, put together a little layout of the area. I guess kind of how we would envision the project being laid out. So there'd be a water main that would be installed along Country Estates Road and to the east end, and then go up north to the end of the cul-de-sac, tie in the water main up there. Services would be provided off that. There is water main, there are hydrant down in this area, so there's water main that can be tied on to serve this home, and then this home would end up with a longer service to get to it. And, that wouldn't be exactly how it would be, but it's just kind of a preliminary conceptual drawing. How we envision that at first thought. So.
I'll touch on the State Water Commission a little bit. So, as a municipal engineer that deals with communities your size, a majority of the work we do is actually working with funding agencies to get these projects funded. Communities of 200 people can't afford to do $1 million infrastructure project. So you have to use the State Water Commission. I'd say a fourth of the projects we're doing right now are through the State Water Commission. So we're very in tune with their staff, the managers there, the timelines of getting the funding applications submitted and approved, working with them on intricacies of the project. We deal with the State Water Commission, we deal with the DEQ, we deal with USDA rural developments, CDBG. There's tons of agencies that we deal with on a daily basis to fund these projects. And a lot of our projects will pair these funding agencies together. For instance, a State Water Commission project would be a 60% grant on the project you're talking about here. A lot of our communities will advise them, or we'll work with them on the different funding agencies to pair with them. Maybe it would be a DEQ loan at 30 years at 2% interest, and they can possibly get some loan forgiveness on the local share of that. It's working with the agencies, knowing which agencies fund different tasks. If you're doing a sewer project, or if you're doing a street project, or if you're doing a water tower project, for instance, that's what we deal a lot with. And we have to know these programs because that's what we do as municipal engineering. So State Water Commission is a great program to use. They offer high percentage grants right now, and they've got a lot of money right now because of the oil impact that they're getting. They are one of the more difficult agencies to deal with. There are certain things that they'll throw out that they don't deem eligible for administrative costs or certain legal fees. So it's a great program. It's great percentages, but at the same time is you better know what you're getting into when you start dealing with them. So you guys are on the list here, which is good for your project. And I believe you were approved for the preliminary engineering portion of it. So the next step that you would go through is you would go through the design and bidding portion of the project, and then come back to the State Water Commission for the construction dollar portion of that. So here's their meetings. They meet, every couple of months, and you have to have your application in 45 days prior to that meeting. So it is very critical to get your work done, your project bid, hit those deadlines, because if you're at 44 days, they're not going to let you in. That's the type of agency they are. And it could potentially push you out of the construction zone. If you get a project bid and you miss that 45-day window before June 7th, you're into August, which puts you into September, getting contracts awarded, and you're probably into 2023 construction. So we work with these guys all the time. We know the rules, we know the processes, and we know the staff there too. The other part of your project is special assessments. Now, special assessments are they're a pain. We deal with them all the time. I would say probably a quarter of the projects that we do are special assessed in the community. A lot of cities will use rates to pay for projects, which is easier for them. It's faster. They don't have to pass as many resolutions. But special assessments are a great fit on a lot of projects too. So a lot of the communities that we deal with have never gone through the special assessment process. We do it a lot. There's a couple different attorneys we work with also. So we are very involved with the cities on the special assessment portion. It would be up to the council to elect a special assessment committee. We would meet with them, go through the rules, go through the timeline. There's several motions here, resolutions that a city council would have to pass to start the special assessment process and to go down that road, and to make sure you're advertising correctly and bidding the project correctly so you can special assess it. And then at that point, really the council would be hands off, or the auditor would be hands off until the special assessments are finalized. So really what the process is the council will elect the commission, get them set up. And then we would meet with the commission, also with an attorney, explain the rules. We would help. It's up to them how they want to special assess it, but we would give them examples of similar projects, and we would help them do the calculations. For instance, if you're doing a street project, you're probably assessing front footage. That's what most communities do. A water and sewer project or a water project like you have, a sewer project, a lot of times they'll be per account or per curb stop or per sanitary sewer service is how those are generally done. We draw the maps for them, run the calculations for them, and then it'd be up to the special assessment committee to review those, approve those, publish those. And then at that point, there's a protest meeting that we would come along with also. If there's any questions from the public, we'd help the special assessment committee go through that process. Special assessment committee at that time would, make any changes per the protests or approve as is, and then make their recommendation to the city council to approve the list. At that point, it's up to the city council to either reject, approve, or modify the list. Once everything has been approved, you get it turned over to the county. Typically that's due by, mid-October, November 1st, depending on which county you're in. And then that'd go on your tax rolls in January. So it is a very detailed process. It's a step-by-step process. So as long as you start early and follow the process, you'd have no problem getting this project on your January tax rolls, but you want to start that process now. Typically it's 3 to 4 meetings with the assessment committee to go through things. The first meeting is talking about the project, talking about the cost, explaining some of the rules, getting some feedback how they want to assess it. and then going through the calculations, meeting with them, going through maps. So it's an involved process, but we try to make it as easy as possible because we go through it a lot. So.
Here we have a preliminary project schedule laid out. So today we're at January 5th with your interviews. We would anticipate a selection of a firm at your January 11th meeting. Excuse me. After that, if selected, we would immediately schedule a meeting with the city staff and commissioners to define the scope of the project. From there, we develop a engineering agreement, which would be on your meeting in February 8th for council consideration. From there, we begin immediately with design of the project. Mid to late February, we would anticipate having a 30% or so design for review with the project committee. From there, we'd take any comments and address them and develop the plan set further to a 75% plan for early to mid March. And then at your March 15th meeting, we would look to have the special assessment district created, along with advertising the project for bids with a mid-April bid opening. After that, we would get the application to the State Water Commission submitted for the construction funding. For their June meeting, April 23rd, would be the cutoff for that, and that's actually a Saturday, I believe. So we would probably have to push that. That would be the absolute drop dead. So we have to push that up a little bit to make sure they have everything they need in time. Funding would be awarded at their June 7th meeting, and then from there we would look to have the city award the construction contract at your June 14th meeting.
And this could change, this would be up to city decisions and changes, and those schedules can slide. But if you're going to hit that June 7th meeting, this is the schedule you have to be on. Otherwise, you're into August.
So what are Stanley's needs? That's really a kind of an open-ended question in a way, but how we can help you. Again, we really strive to listen to what your needs are. Funding opportunities. Really, we have a great experience with that. A lot of people with a lot of knowledge on all the funding agencies and programs out there. Special assessment process, as Tom went through, we can be very involved with the community in helping out through that process. I know a lot of auditors and whatnot struggle with going through all this stuff. So we can be a hand to help with any of those processes there. Really, early bidding of projects is a key, especially with kind of the environment we're in right now. Contractors are busy, and of course material shortages and all the challenges we're facing today. That's a big thing to try and get bids out as early to get as much done for the dollar as possible for the community. Maintaining project budgets, that's something we really strive for, especially working with a lot of the smaller, lower income communities. Set a budget at the beginning of a project and that's it. We can't make changes. So,
and that's something that everybody always says is maintaining budgets. But almost all of the projects we do have funding in them, and when you have funding, you have to meet that budget because there is no money from anywhere else. I mean, the communities we have don't have giant general funds to pay for overruns on projects. So we are very tight on those project budgets. It's something we live with on almost every project that we do.
And it's a conscious effort. We're constantly watching that, maintaining that. There's things that go awry. There's things that cost more. There's change orders that happen. There's buried cars or abandoned, fuel spills that you find underground. Things happen, but it's something that we watch constantly. if something like that would happen on a project, we'd bring it to you right away and say, okay, guys, this is going to be a $50,000 excavation because you got to haul out 100 truckloads of contaminated soil. So we know what your budget is. We need to maintain this budget. Maybe we need to cut out a block of water main in this project. We're constantly watching that and monitoring that because the clients of 100 people can't afford to come in 100,000 over budget. It's just not an option. So
what was the completion date?
go back to the slide. So if you're going to hit that June 7th State Water Commission meeting, you need to have a mid-April bid opening.
No, the end of the project.
For construction.
Oh,
That could be, that'd be something to be determined at, by the city. If you're talking a, June award of construction, you're probably mid-July by the time they get contracts in place and, get started. So it would be maybe an early August start. End of September, probably by the time it's probably it's probably a 4 weeks of heavy construction and then clean up and all that. So I would say it's, a September type time frame.
Yeah. You're November 1st.
To be honest.
Yeah.
There's capacity, to get this project done. You're not a citywide, water project here. The thing that you're going to run into, like Josh mentioned, the bid market is volatile right now. So pipe prices are high. The real kicker right now is the contractor availability. These guys are filling up already. They're getting projects bid. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll put alternate completion dates on there if you want. So you could give them a November 1st completion date this year or a alternate one, July 1st completion dates next year. And that might save you $50,000 to look at these alternate completion dates. And at that point, it'd be up to the city to decide, well, do we really want this done? Do these people need this water now? If it is, then let's go for that November 1st completion date. But if we push that out to next year, it might give you, a significant, it might be the same, but it might give you a significant drop too. So we're looking at different things right now. There's some stuff we're bidding the 2023 completion dates right now. Some stuff we're bidding, end of this year completion date. So we're flexible. It's up to you guys really how you want to do it. But
Okay. One other thing, reliable record drawings. So the last few years we've been using our handheld GPS. I probably can't see very well, but a map of actually the city of Tioga. So we have our construction engineers out in the field equipped with these as pipe or whatever is getting installed underground, so they can shoot the actual location these have. This unit actually has sub-centimeter accuracy, so extremely high accuracy. They're shooting it as it goes in the ground, so we know exactly where, and you can log dates, the date it was installed, and have all that information right on your city GIS map. So very handy to get extreme accuracy on our record drawings. Meeting project budget goals, we kind of already touched on that. Really just keeping that as our strive to keep budgets in line. Managing construction issues. If I were to come in here and tell you that there won't be an issue on a project, I'd be probably lying to you. It's the inevitable kind of thing, but of course we strive to eliminate them as much as possible. But
it's all communication, right? There's stuff that's going to come up, but we're open with you and we're not going to lie to you, and we'll address it head on. And we try to be very clean and not make mistakes, but we're humans too, and everyone makes mistakes. But it's things up, we'll address it.
And web mapping, that's kind of going back to this here again. We post online maps for communities to view their GIS data, and we can go in and add data as necessary, or just view it for utility locates or whatever it may be. So, with that, I think that's all we've got. Do you guys have anything else to add?
We're municipal engineers. The projects you guys are doing, they're not extremely difficult rocket science projects. That's not what we're dealing with here. It's really the niche that we have, or we've done for the last 50 years, is we understand the funding very well. We understand the funding agencies. We work with these funding agencies to pair these projects to get you the best bang for your buck. There's a lot of times we're getting 60, 70, 80% grants on these projects because we're pairing State Water Commission with DEQ to get some loan forgiveness. So we understand those funding agencies. You're probably a little higher income community, so you're not going to qualify for everything, but there's lots of avenues out there right now, especially with this infrastructure money that's coming. So if you're patient and if you're smart, you can get a lot of grant dollars on the projects you're looking to do.
And communication is very important to us. Our goal with our clients is to be part of the team. We're part of the community. We want to really understand what your needs are so that we can provide the best service for you and communicate everything back and forth. That's very, very important to us.
Okay, questions? Anybody?
This one here, it's question on here. What's your track record with completing a project within original budget and time frame?
Yeah, just like I mentioned before, so that track record is very, very good. Like I mentioned, we work for a lot of communities that they don't have extra money in their general funds. I mean, there is none. And so we have funding from that may have come from one or three different agencies that come together to fund the project that community needs to do. And as budget, so we have to hit that budget. So we are we have spreadsheets put together that we're monitoring the budget of the project from day one. We don't wait till the end and go, okay, well, where are we at? No, we have to, where are we after week one and what's left to do? Where are we after week two and what's left to do? We have to, because we're always getting there. And that goes with the timeline too. I mean, if the timeline gets overran, that's an issue. Now, at the end of the day, it is a contractor out there doing work. We do not boss the contractor on their time schedule. I mean, we can tell them all day long that you got to be done by tomorrow, but they may not do it. That's why we have damages built into the contracts for our clients to make sure that they meet those. And if they don't, then we're big boys and we sit down with them and we have to assess liquidated damages. It's not a fun conversation,
No.
but we have them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Have you guys worked for Stanley before? I don't remember. I'm forgetful.
I don't believe we have.
No, I don't believe we have either.
Okay. Okay.
We
Well,
love the
thanks.
opportunity to.
Okay. Thanks for the application, and I guess we'll deal with it Tuesday at the council meeting.
All right.
And thanks for coming up on a nice cool day.
Gee, yeah, it's North Dakota.
Yeah.
We know what it's like.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or any comments that you're looking for some information prior to your meeting coming up, make sure you shoot us an email or give us a call. We'll be more than happy to make sure that you get what you need.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can we just fill this one out? This one? Or do we,
Make sure you take notes and write your name on it. Okay.
You want it?
Will you make sure Kimber's on the phone as well?
Kendra, are you on the phone?
Yes, Mayor, I'm on the phone.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Donovan, good to see you moving around. Good. We'll try and keep this short. Got some other commitments later on here in about a half an hour, but we got a little time yet, so. Yeah, we kind of know you.
Mayor.
Yeah.
What's her first name?
All right, I guess you guys ready then? All right. Mayor and council, first, I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity for us to interview for these projects, be the city engineer title, as well as the country estates. Greatly appreciate it. With me today, I have John Brose. He's in our Bowman office. He's our head municipal for the state of North Dakota for our offices. I also have Shannon Houston here with me, another municipal engineer that we have in our Bowman office. That's part of these teams that we have assembled. And also Casey Carlson. He's an engineer in our Stanley office. He did a lot of work out on the country estates and a lot of design and other projects. So I just kind of we'll first go over the firm introduction, then we'll talk about some of the engineering services for the city. And next we'll cover the country estates water main extension project, and then we'll like to talk about some of Brose's past experience projects. With that, I'll turn it over to John.
Good afternoon. I guess I'm just here to kind of explain a little bit of what our company's about. Again, I'm sure you guys have heard before, we've been in business since 1982, and since then we've opened 6 other offices and 2 satellite offices. The office in Stanley here was opened in 2011. So as you guys can see, I hope you understand we're not going anywhere. We plan to have this office here for a long time. We have done 10 plus projects with you guys in the last 10 years. I've been a part of quite a few of them on the design and planning end with Donnie and Jeff and Zach and some of those guys. So I'm very familiar with a lot of your projects and your town. So again, just to show us where we're at, our Watford City office has support. We have support. We do want to make sure we know that a lot of our support now is done over Teams, over the internet, over telephone, some of that kind of stuff shared through the internet and cloud. which saves time for you guys and money, so we don't have to pay, charges for mileage and all that stuff. So, some of the services that we provide, we're a fairly well-rounded firm. We do a lot with highway, roads, and bridges, but we also do a lot of municipal. We kind of specialize in small-town municipalities versus large, and that's the way we kind of like it. We like working with smaller communities. Water and wastewater, we do it all from, as you guys know, from water, sewer, lagoons, water towers, SCADA systems, that whole gamut as well. We do construction services. That's where I think we really excel as far as design and construction. On the construction side, we're able to multitask we ask our employees to multitask as far as testing and inspection and some of that kind of stuff, which also saves our clients time. Survey, of course, we have the most up-to-date survey capabilities, not only GPS, but we have also expanded into drone, and we're starting to do a lot of drone surveying, which allows us to take aerial photos. It allows the designer, if they're not directly on site, it allows them to actually see with a very clear picture, so we can get better designs as we move down the road. And of course, the GIS, which we host for you guys now. Like I said, we've got a gal named Caitlin who's in charge of our GIS department, and she's very good. And we're able to update that continually and come up with some more features for you guys to utilize it with.
All right, thanks, John. I'll just kind of touch over some of the projects that the city of Stanley has coming up over in the near future here. First one, obviously, you were here to interview for the Country Estates Water Main project, both the preliminary engineering right now and hopefully the construction of that project. The ND8 shared path, which we've been working on in conjunction with the city and the state. That one hopefully we can get here pretty soon. And the Stanley HSIP, which we designed, and construction of that will happen this summer. And then the big project, the phase 1 capital improvements project that we all are aware of. And then hopefully everything goes well and all the citizens are happy and we get you guys some more funding. We can move forward with the phase 2 that we've also been working on. It's kind of put on hold, but we definitely have a good start on that. So next I'll just kind of talk about our team for the City of Engineering Service. Gary Brennan is our president of the company right now. And then you guys, of course, all know Zach, who's our area office manager. I'll serve as the main contact as project engineer. And like I said, we got John here and Shannon. They'll provide a lot of the design team. And then Patrick, he's also in our Stanley office. He's done a lot of the water modeling and design for the CIP project. Nathan Barron's actually worked in our Stanley office for a few years, now works in our Wofford City office. He has a broad range of areas that he's worked in, from municipality, highways. Ann Taylor, she's been in our Stanley office for I think about 8 years now. She's very familiar with the right-of-way processes, client management. We also have Casey. Like I said before, Casey was on the Country Estates Sewer Project. He got to know those landowners very well, first name basis. They all seem to get along pretty well out there. Jacob Berg is our survey manager in our Stanley office. He's been with the company for 8+ years now. Jacob Inge, he's also in our Stanley office, and he'll do just about anything we ask him to do, inspection, survey, testing, drafting. Dustin Jordan would be our RLS, our certified land surveyor for this. And then Caitlin, our GIS coordinator. And we also partner with Icon for architectural services and American Engineering for testing services, our specialty testing services, soil borings and that such. Our testing service, like John said, we do handle all of our construction testing, where some engineering firms may push that off into the contractor. that might look like you're saving a little bit of money, but you might not be. So up next, how we like to develop a project. We've been planning projects with you guys for a while. It usually starts out as a pretty big one, like the capital improvements project. Started out 35 blocks, and as we kind of worked through it, we narrowed it down to 17 or so. Next, the big thing, once we get our plan project, is to identify our scope of the project. And that's where communication with you guys and the Public Works Director is really key. Identifying those problems that you guys are looking at getting solved, and establishing what we think is going to cost to get that done. We prepare all the probable costs, cost estimates. We help with secure funding, filling out loan applications, USDA, the SRF, and the Bank of North Dakota ones that we recently did for the capital improvements. And then, like I said, we're located here in Stanley, so there's no travel build. We're right here in town for you guys. Next, I guess I'll ask Shannon Houston to come up.
Hello, council. Just going to talk a little bit about Country Estates water main. There's about 2,100 feet of water main to be put in out there for the project. The funding has been applied for with the State Water Commission, and that 60% of the preliminary engineering has been approved. To move forward, the plan's got to be completed, and then once the plans and the bid's completed, you can reapply, and then potentially you could get up to another 60% from State Water Commission. That's obviously pending until the plans are complete, as well as the construction engineering work. We do have a preliminary layout for that. We're looking at doing is tying in on Meadow Lane and along the highway to the west. There's one home that just has to have a service line put in. The rest of those homes would have to have a main along them with service lines retied to their existing. I believe there's a lot of wells out there, so we'd be eliminating those from the system. What we'd like to do generally when we start a project, obviously we're going to meet with the owner, meet with the landowners, provide a kickoff meeting. We like to have a clear line of communication, make sure everyone that needs to be involved is involved in the project. We'll do our survey out there. We don't have a lot of survey work to do, as we did just do the sewer project, but we would have to verify a few things with the water main portion, and then service lines where the existing homes tie into. We'd basically be able to take that the water model that we're completing for the city of Stanley. We can add Country Estates to it, verify there's enough flow, enough capacity in the system, and then move forward from there. Complete the plans, have you guys review them, get the North Dakota DEQ to review them and approve them, and we can apply State Water Commission and request that this project be funded with them as well. So we go through bidding, construction, and at that point. So turn it back over to Donovan to wrap up.
All right, thanks, Shannon. So again, Zach is our area office manager. I'll serve as project engineer for the Country Estates. If selected, we'll have Shannon. Like Shannon said, he did the sewer design out there. He's familiar with the area. And then we have Patrick and Casey out there for support and design as well. And Jacob, the two Jacobs, Jacob Berg and Engie, for survey. And if we need any right-of-way plats, we got Dustin Jordan to sign off on those. This last slide here is just to kind of highlight some of the projects that we've done with the city of Stanley in the last 6+ years. Obviously, the wastewater project, we did the C and the PE for that. The HSIP signing, we did the PE, and coming up the CE part of that. The big capital improvements project that'll be kicking off here in the spring for construction. The shared use path and the Reservoir Road out there towards the gun range. Frontier Village, the Sauber Sports Complex out there, and that extension of 8th Avenue, and Westview Lane down there by Cashwise. With that, I'd like to first thank you guys for the opportunity and turn it over for any questions that you guys may have.
Okay, any questions from anybody? Probably won't be many. We know you too well, Donovan. And I know where you work, so I
You can find me. I can't move very fast either,
Yeah.
so.
can't get away. Okay. Well, okay. Thank you guys for coming up.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Okay?
Hopefully you kept it short enough for you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, moving on. The next thing on the agenda. Kendra, are you still on the phone?
Yes.
We have the dangerous buildings, written findings. You want to fill us in on what we need on that?
Sure. So, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So basically what's required under our city ordinances, after we have a hearing, after the city council has a hearing before them regarding a dangerous building, the next step of the city council would be that they need to adopt a findings of fact based on the history of the case and that hearing that came before them. You're looking at the written findings for the hearing that we had back on December 14th, 2021, involving those buildings at 131 Prairie Drive, 121 Prairie Drive, 101 Prairie Drive, and 11 Prairie Drive, which respectively are owned now by Greenstone Stanley LLC, and one lot is owned by Greenstone Stanley LLC and the Archibald Family Trust. The document outlines the history that was gone over at the hearing, as well as at the end were there are analysis and written findings of the council, which I drafted based on some of your requests that you all had as to what you would like to require from Greenstone and Archibald Family Trust moving forward with the properties. If you have questions for me or there's something that you don't agree with or don't think it fell in line with what happened at the hearing, you can feel free to let me know at this time.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
is it possible or appropriate to request anything in addition to what was discussed at the hearing?
I think you still can at this point in time if you're trying to make that part of your settlement agreement, then the council would need to be in agreement with that before I would circulate any settlement agreement or stipulation. And obviously I will not do that until you issue a finding of fact. I will not circulate those.
So the letter of credit thing, Kendra, should that be in this?
I believe it is. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to go back to that document. Under analysis and written findings, it should be number 2, Mayor.
And do we want a dollar amount on that?
That would certainly be up to the council as to your wishes on that.
In lieu of a dollar amount, I'd suggest a verbiage that states total cost of demolition. Let's just put it a dollar, specify dollar amount, because you don't know what that.
But we don't know what the tear down costs are either.
That's what I'm saying. If you put a dollar amount in there and you miss it by 50%, you're stuck with 50% of it. Or if you put verbiage that says total incurred cost of demolition and removal of material, then you can't miss it.
So I apologize because I can't hear exactly, but I did catch some of what was being talked about. And if we have concerns with the tear down costs, there is a remedy also under North Dakota law that allows for a lien to be placed on a property by municipal government, which would be applicable if the building needed to be tore down. That is an avenue that we could use by putting a municipal lien on it.
So the trouble with that is the fact that we're gonna get the property back. That's why I thought a dollar amount on a letter of credit, even if it was $500,000, would cover a bigger share than turning it over for taxes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with a dollar amount as long as it's a large dollar amount.
So this, Stephen kind of hinted, he was thinking 300,000 that night, but I think 500. Yeah. And that way we find out if they're serious before anything else happens.
Well, and speaking of taxes, weren't they haven't been paid for what, 3 years?
Correct.
Uh,
I guess
Let me, sorry, thank you, Ellen.
I haven't checked recently, but as of last month, they had not been paid.
Well, I think those need to be brought up to date and kept up to date.
And I do believe, Kendra, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was also stated during the public hearing. That
was.
if we decided
But-
to continue with an agreement, that they'd have to make the taxes current and keep them current.
Yep, and also pay
Yep,
off the
I
liens that are
apologize.
against it.
I can add that to this agreement.
Okay,
Did she get your part? Mayor?
pardon?
About the liens, did she get that part?
Kendra,
Wanted
that,
the letter of credit for $500,000.
for the subcontractors,
You're talking two different things, you know?
okay,
She asked.
Yep,
if you
I'm
wanted-
sorry. Can you clarify?
She asked if you wanted the letter of credit to state $500,000.
yeah,
And then she
that's
asked
what I
you-
think.
Then you said something about the
Okay.
outstanding money owed to the subcontractor. that they still owe.
I didn't quite catch the subcontractor part. I apologize.
Well, I think they said at the public hearing that all those liens would have to be settled before anything else happens.
Sure, potentially. So when we're looking at this, there are some issues as to, there are a lot of construction liens that are on the property. That's on various lots. There's different ones on each lot. Arguably, some of those might not be enforceable because they're over 3 years old, and under North Dakota law, that's kind of their timeout limit where they're not necessarily, or they're able to arguably not be enforced after the 3-year period. But there are mortgages, for sure. Both mortgages appear of record. Previously, they communicated to me that one mortgage had been paid off. I checked title again last week, and I have not saw anything recorded showing that that one mortgage has been satisfied. And, you know, I'm bound to go to advise you guys of what is of record. But there is another mortgage that's also on the property that's a fairly significant amount, and they would have obviously some sort of priority to the matter if it ends up being sold or assessed against it. They're still a party of record with an interest in it.
Okay, anything else, Dave?
Kendra, something that jumped out at me when that man was here talking to us was that he said that the construction would finish on the most finished building, and then the older one that's in terrible shape would have to wait. Is there something that we just can't just leave it there in the state it's in? Is there, is there something we can put in this where they gotta either do them both or tear one down and finish the better one, or what?
Yeah, sure. So as I have it written right now, and I do have a draft of the settlement agreement, that when you guys will approve of findings of fact, I'll circulate this next week for council meeting. But basically on the finding of fact, it mirrors what settlement agreement will be because these are our findings. But I don't specifically push any one building in front of another. If that is something you guys would wish to have one property done before the other ones, or we can certainly do that. The general setup of these findings in the settlement agreement is that all of those properties would be subject to, I believe it's 180 days, was just the timeline that I threw out as all properties needing to be in compliance by the end of the 180 days. So if you'd like to make different timelines, I guess, specific to the different buildings, you're certainly welcome to. I'm open to that suggestion. If that's what the council would be seeking, I can change the wording on this. But as of right now, they're all under that one. All properties fall under the same timeline.
The latitude that we gave him that night, though, was the one that you're referring to that is in the toughest shape, was to be made safe. There wasn't anything that it had to be completed at the same time, because we have to understand that there's two totally different timelines there for them two buildings. And we did allow him the ability to make that one safe and make the repairs to the roof, is what you're, I'm sure, referring to with it tore off.
And it all opened doors.
And that was the one thing that he did say that night, that would be a priority while they're work at the same time as completing the one that's the most completed. So
I think if we leave this 180 days applying to both of them, that might solve the.
And the 180 days doesn't, just so we're clear, as I understand it, does not mean that they're completed, done, and an occupancy permit. They're just brought up to code, so they're
Right.
safe.
And they
so
have to
that-
show some reasonable progress, and
Yeah.
it's the way I understand it, talking to Amanda.
That'd be correct. I had a conversation with Amanda. I know she's not able to be there here tonight with us, but I did have a conversation with her yesterday afternoon where we went through these guidelines and the findings, and her feedback was that she thought it was appropriate to give the deadlines in the timed increments that they were set up. And that way she would have a way to go back and hold them accountable at each of those timelines to make sure that they are meeting the requirements under this proposed agreement. And it allows her some way to hold them accountable as well, because she knows what she's looking for every time she goes in there.
Okay.
The one question I got with that, though, is within that 180 days, they can get it up to code, and then they can slow down, right? Or they can maintain it at that
Well, if they issued a building permit, that would be good for 1 year.
1 year, correct?
Yep, the 180 days is to make sure they're compliant with applicable codes. And generally what we see, especially when we've done the ones for the city of Williston here, is the 180 days is kind of like our big goal, where at the end of that timeline, we're reviewing big picture. You know, have they cleaned it up? Is the garbage still an issue out there? Have the safety issues been addressed? And if they need more time after that 180 days, obviously they would have the valid building permit and would be able to continue to make progress towards it. Whereas if, you know, they're not meeting that compliance within 180 days and there hasn't really been much work done or communication to the city or Amanda about why that's not occurring, then there's a way, you know, then there's a serious concern that nothing, you know, what's holding them up from reaching that level of compliance at that time frame.
Okay.
Something I think I'd just bring up to consider is, once they've got some preliminary stuff to do, clean up and getting their permits, but once they get to construction, from when they start major construction until they get the exteriors safe and pretty much finished, I think we should think about requiring them to have either a general contractor or a foreman that's here, so that they don't try to manage this remotely And anytime we try to figure out what's going on, or we see that nothing's going on, we gotta try to chase down whoever it is that may not even know what's going on. And I think if they're gonna get serious about getting it done, that's what they're gonna have to have anyway, is somebody here to manage it.
And I would like to require a progress report from them on a monthly basis. The onus is on them, in my mind, for all of it. It's not the city's job, it's not Amanda's job to have to go out there and babysit at this point in the game. She has all the right in the world to go and inspect at will, but I think that they need to supply a progress report so that we can have them clicks in the sand to see that they're doing something. So then she can have that in hand when she goes out and have something to verify against, instead of just, well, that's not what we meant when we said it. I mean, I don't want to make it so difficult they can't get this done. That's not the goal of it, but
They're,
I mean, we
they're
can
probably got
add that
multiple
to it.
different contractors coming in and out. They need somebody to manage it and report to us, yeah.
Can you add that to this or to your agreement?
And I believe usually she makes them delineate that information, Zach, when she has someone apply for the permit. And she did mention that yesterday, that she was looking for specific contacts that are here with the North Dakota license that she would be able to contact on site. But I can add that. As to the monthly report, is that a consensus that we would like that added? I know there are different timelines in there requiring them to provide proof and reports in writing to the city, typically within 7 days of them receiving the reports or progress, stating that they're in compliance.
I would agree to that. Definitely a monthly report, and I don't know if you need a motion to that, but I'd sure make one. That,
Well, I think that could all be stipulations on the building permit.
just so it's in writing somewhere so that they have to acknowledge it, because if it's just a verbal thing, then that's a he said, she said. And
yeah, I don't like verbal.
We see what their record is. since-
I'd like to see it in this thing right here, the contract, because essentially that's what that is a contract.
Sure. And then we'll have to make that clear to them. I know they'll be required to read this, obviously, but just to make it clear that it's separate from all the other deadlines that need to be provided in writing that are listed in this, or this finding of facts as well.
So can you make those changes, Kendra, and then is there anything we have to have a motion on today?
I can make all of these changes and I'll get it over to Lynn tomorrow morning. We can put it on the agenda for next week's council meeting. You'll have to make a motion to adopt or to make and adopt the findings of fact. And then after you've adopted the findings of fact, I will have the settlement agreement there at council tomorrow night, or next week, excuse me, which will mimic the language in this with all of the changes to that, waiting for your approval as well.
Okay.
You'll be able to review both of them at council next week and agree to them if you'd like.
So we don't have to approve this one today?
I can let you, I think it'd be better if you reviewed everything that I
Yep.
made changes to on it and then adopted it next week at the meeting.
You got everything jotted down then?
Yes. My only other thing that we did have on the agenda was the request for their release and hold harmless agreement. And I can give background to that if you would like.
Okay. So
I
that's,
believe they'd reached out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mayor.
no, you finish.
So Amanda was contacted, it probably was, believe it was right around Christmas, right before Christmas, by Mr. Taylor again, stating that in order for them to secure any financing from the bank or to be considered for financing, that they needed to do an inventory on all of the properties, the Stanley properties, to understand what was left out on the properties and provide proof of that inventory back to the bank. At that point in time, then the wheels would start turning as to financing and if they would be able to secure the financing from their bank. They asked Amanda if they could just go right out there. And my advice, and Amanda was in agreement with this, is that we needed to have some sort of agreement, a release and hold harmless in place for when they do go out there to take inventory, that we're not liable for anything that happens out there, as it is a posted property in a dangerous building as well. So this document just provides that the city, Greenstone will not hold, Greenstone Archibald Family Trust, they won't hold the city account or liable for anything that may happen to them. And it is very clear that the purpose of why they're entering onto those properties is solely for the purpose of inventory, that there is to be no construction, maintenance, reconstruction, reclamation or removal of items from those properties at this time. It's strictly the scope of them taking inventory for their ability to get financing. So this document just basically outlines all of those things, and it is my position that, and I would advise the city to have, if you are willing to allow them to do inventory of that building for financing purposes, that we would sign this agreement, and then it would be circulated over to Greenstone and Archibald family after they would need to sign it as well before entering on the property for that limited purpose.
Move to approve their request upon signature on the hold harmless agreement.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Chad, second by Jacob. Any further discussion?
Are we gonna have somebody
Accompany them?
accompany them on this? A
Yeah.
babysitter? I
That
don't
would be
trust
good to
them.
have Amanda and Chris's name
Yeah.
to go with them.
Even Chris or one of his officers is
Legally
planning, just
binding.
so that they're not doing anything that's.
Okay,
fine.
you want to add that to
With
your
the- With the
motion?
presence of one of the Stanley Police Department.
Okay, you okay with that?
Mayor, may I make a comment before we go any further?
Okay.
Amanda and I did briefly discuss this today, and like she said, considering we're in winter in North Dakota and all the material they have on site, she has a feeling this is probably gonna take anywhere from 3 to 4 days, not just a one-day thing. So I guess just to make the council aware that,
That's fine. You can't put on real expectations on them either.
No, and the policeman can sit
Well,
by the gate in his car for that matter. I mean,
Yeah. Nothing leaves.
okay, any other discussion? Call the roll.
I don't think you need anything necessarily added to this. I have reviewed all other ones that we use typically here in Williston for these purposes, and they do not reference anything as to the PD being present or code enforcement.
Okay,
They can just be there. You don't have to have it part of the motion, just to approve the
agreement.
agreement, and then they're good.
okay. Call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Chad?
All right.
Motion carried. The last thing on the agenda is part-time / temporary help. As of right now, Curtis is down in Rochester for some more tests and stuff. He brought it up if he talked to Eddie, I think it's Patterson,
Patterson?
who was the road foreman for the county. He retired last year. And he's, as far as if they could have him come in as temporary help if they had a big snow event or something like that. But we would need a motion to approve them doing that, basically.
So moved.
So, okay, do we not have Montreal Builders come in and help with snow removal already?
With the trucks, yeah.
They don't do any of
But
the.
Curtis has been running equipment too, you know, which
Right,
is,
and that's what I'm saying though, I mean, we've got that agreement with them already in place. Do they have equipment that they would bring in?
and that's a possibility too.
I know Eddie, he's good.
But
He's worked for the county and
We looked at,
it's part-time / temporary.
we
If we have
talked
like a
about
big
the fact
snow
that if
event or-
Walter ever retires, this Eddie would be a perfect part-time fill-in and he can run the equipment, but I guess whoever we get, whether it's another one of Montreal Builders guys or whatever, we just need to okay the fact that we'd have some extra help hired for a while.
Yes, just because considering we don't know how long Curtis might be out, or if we get another big snowstorm, I think he just felt more comfortable knowing someone else that can run equipment would be able to.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make the motion to approve for temporary help, part-time help with Eddie.
I'd second that.
Okay,
So is that on an as-needed basis, or is that
Yes.
just coming on and working?
just
out?
as
It would be
needed.
more
Just
as,
Strictly for snowstorm work?
Yeah, they'd call them if they need them, basically. If it don't snow, we don't need them.
Well, I guess that's what I was getting
Yeah.
at. I mean, I think we have a heck of a crew right now that's managing what we've got.
Yeah.
Minus that snow catastrophe type setting, just so that we don't have added expenses just to have somebody here.
Okay, call the roll.
I guess I have one question. What would we look at paying him?
I was wondering that myself.
I mean, currently, I mean, like Walter being seasonal help, but as many years as he's been to work for the city, and we pay him $29 an hour because he does not get any benefits.
That's just part of being. a
25?
part-time help. Well, there's no benefits to them.
25? I don't know.
Okay.
Is that fair?
What do we pay right now for one man from Montreal Builders?
We rent the trucks by the hour.
Rent the truck by the hour?
Yeah.
No operators
No, they come with the truck.
with the truck?
I think we're looking at I mean, it's only for snow emergencies, I mean, 25 an hour.
Okay. Who made that motion
I
to
did.
begin with?
I did.
You want to add
It was
that
in
to
there.
it? And you seconded it,
I
Linda?
seconded.
Okay,
Are we at 25?
Yeah.
okay, call the roll.
Jake,
Hi.
Zach, Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
All right.
Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
That frees up my time.